today we are going to speak about the National Standard Examination for Junior Science, the NSEJS exam, and also about the Indian National Junior Science Olympiad, right? So, as you know, I mean, NSEJS is like a precursor to the Junior Science Olympiad, right? International Junior Science Olympiad, which is eventually going to happen. So there are these multiple stages. Obviously, you can't take everybody and go to an international Olympiad, right? Particularly in a country where we have like billions of people, right? So what happens is there is this exam that is conducted, which is like a preliminary exam, right? So the first examination, which is called your NSEJS. So in the sequence of things, in the sequence of exams, think of this as the first exam, right? For example, this year's NSEJS exam is going to be conducted on November 24th, right? Coming Sunday, right? So what is this NSEJS? National Standard Examination in Junior Science, right? So NSEJS is conducted by Indian Association of Physics Teachers, IAPT. IAPT conducts it. IAPT used to at some point also conduct the next part, right, which is called the Indian National Junior Science Olympiad. So this is the first stage of exam that you give. Those who qualify, they go to this, right? So this is the Indian National Junior Science Olympiad. Now, how many people go through, right? And who are qualified and what happens after this? All of these we'll discuss, right? So eventually the aim obviously is that we are trying to think of the International Junior Science Olympiad, right? So this is where people go, it's like literally like Olympics, right? Of science students, that's all. At a junior level, pre-10th level, right? So obviously you don't send everybody from the country into Olympics, right? So just like that, there has to be some kind of qualifying mechanism so that we can select a handful of students who can probably go there, right? So for that, what happens is first this IAPT, right, Indian Association of Physics Teachers, conducts with obviously with the help of other science subjects like chemistry and biology and all of that. They conduct this examination called NSEJS, which is the National Standard Exam for Junior Science, which will be happening for students who are in 10th level, right? So what is happening here is that there is a strict age criteria, right? Like for example, this year, those who are giving it in 2024, they have to be born. I mean, they had to be born. They have to be. It's not possible. They can't go back. But yeah, though they had to be born in 2010 or 11, right? Any month, any day in 2010 or 2011, you could give NSEJS this year. Next year, they'll push it by one more year. So everybody who's there in, who was born in 2011, 2012, they should be able to give next year. Obviously, the registration for NSEJS is already closed. It was somewhere in September. And obviously, you can't give this now. It's just like 4 days left. So if you're somebody who just heard about NSEJS and who's just looking around for what is this exam and finding out, then yeah, of course, you won't be eligible to give it now. Obviously, it's not even about the date of birth. The date is over for you to register. But yeah, let's say you are thinking of giving it next year, or you know of somebody who is eligible to probably give this, and you feel, okay, this person is qualified, this person is intelligent and understands science basics really well, then yeah, maybe next year that person should give. So if you know somebody who was born in 2011 or 12, you can tell them, okay, give 2025 NSEJs, right? So what is there in it? Basic science. Okay. So whatever you can think of as physics, chemistry, maths, biology, which is science till 10th year, right? So that is exactly your syllabus. Whatever is there till 10th standard is what is expected. Of course, the quality of questions, the level of understanding that you need to have to be able to solve all the questions correctly will obviously have to be a higher level. You have to be somebody who has a better understanding of science than the majority of the people in the country. Why? You will see soon, right? So point is NSEJS, anybody who is qualified age-wise, who's an Indian, who has studied at least 1 or 2 years in India, and who is eligible for an Indian passport, right? Can give this. I mean, eventually you will need a passport. You don't need a passport to give the exam, but eventually you will need a passport if you're somebody who is qualifying all of these, and eventually going to the International Olympiad. It's not conducted in our country. So obviously, then you will need a passport, but not right away, right? Obviously, as any kind of passport, like you have to reach the exam center. No, you don't have to have it right now, but yeah, it is a criteria eventually, right? So NSEJS, everybody gives. Whoever registers, whoever is qualified, they'll all be able to give. They are generally 10 standard, 9 standard students, right? Not somebody who has qualified 10th. That is something that they generally avoid. So by 1st November, you can't be qualified in 10th. You can't have a 10th pass certificate by November 1st, right? Then you can't, right? But other than that, yeah, you can give. So 9th, 10th students normally give this because there are those 2 years in the eligibility, right? So this is like a precursor. So I mean, this is the first exam that you give. About 300, 400 students from here will qualify for the next level, right? So about 300 to 400. Let's just say about 300 to 400 students qualify for the next level, which means obviously, I mean, not, I mean, if you look at like JEE, which is like something that is given by 12 standard students, about 10 lakh students every year give this exam. And by 10th level, I mean, before 10th, I mean, after 10th, you probably divide yourself into JEE or NEET. And NEET has like almost an equal or even larger number. So 20, 25 lakh students appear in 12th standard, right? So who are preparing for these competitive exams. So you can understand, I mean, more students than that should be there in 10th, right? So after 10th, you leave science, probably you go into other, maybe you take up commerce or whatever arts. But till 10th, everybody is there giving every subject, right? So the number of students who are there who are strictly speaking eligible to give this exam is a huge number. From there, if you are like top 300, 400, you can understand that you are already a really strong student in science. That's the only way that you can actually qualify in this exam, right? I'll also speak about the exam. You will understand as you go forward why, I mean, they would be able to pick up these top 1% and they would still be very strong students, right? So about 300 to 400. So if you had like about 30 lakh students who are strictly speaking eligible to give this exam, from there 300 is very smaller percentage, right? So it's like what, 0.01%, I guess, about 1 in 10,000 students. But yeah, of course, 30 lakh students don't give this exam. Very smaller number does give this exam. Because yeah, it's not like you have to absolutely give this exam to get into some college or something. So there is no admission that happens through this, strictly speaking, directly at least, right? I mean, there are places where this has an advantage, and you want to go into research line, if you want to, work in you want to go into a science stream, then of course you are, junior science Olympiad grad, qualified person. Then obviously it's a high chance that you will get in to those colleges. That's a different story. But yeah, not too many students give this exam. But from there, being the top 300, 400, 500 students who are super good with science, they are the ones who qualify for the next level. Right. So around COVID, when lockdown was in place and like people couldn't gather in large numbers, and it was not sensible to call students again and again for like multiple exams and all, these used to be conducted together by IAP. But it's not, it's separate now. So you give the first exam, you qualify, you are in those top 300, 400 students. Then you give the International Junior Science Olympiad. From there, about 35 to 40 students, about 35 students, about 35 students qualify to go into what you call as the orientation come selection camp, right? So there is a orientation come selection camp, right? Orientation. So what is the idea here? Orientation, let me write down first. So the thing is, irrespective of qualifying in the exam, they call you down, right? So Homi Baba Center for Science and Education, they kind of take over things beyond this, right? So right now, in fact, the INJSO is also conducted by them. At some point in time, both of these were conducted by IAPT. But yeah, now once the first stage is cleared, IAPT is out of the picture, and then Homi Baba Center for Science and Education, right? HBCSE takes care of the remaining things, right? So they have this Junior Science Olympiad, which is for those top kids. From there, about 35 students are selected who go into camp. That's the general term for camp, right? So there you have about 35 students from each subject. I mean, each of these subjects. I mean, like, what do I mean by subjects? This is obviously junior sciences where you have physics, chemistry, biology, and all together. But yeah, there are these independent, physics exam and maths exam, and you've heard astronomy exam and all that as well. So about 35 students from all of these do turn up at this camp where Homi Baba Center people, like, these are actual scientists. They train you, right? They orient you in the sense orientation. You have heard of this term probably, right? So once you are, if you have had somebody who has given GE and has gone into, orientation to get into one of the IITs, the idea here is that they orient you, they kind of direct you, they try to tell you what is the, what what are you, like, going to face, and what can you expect, and what are the things that will happen. So what exactly will happen in that international Olympiads, that is something they have to tell you, right? So somebody has to teach you beyond your 10th level, whatever you have done, maybe some coaching you have done, some preparation you have done. But beyond that, scientists, this is literally the international Olympiads, as I told you, is like Olympics of science, right? So it's a much higher level stuff, and obviously you have to be a brainy person who thinks of science, who's really connected to science, who loves science, who understands science, and who can like kind of clearly communicate as well. That has to be somebody who will be able to do well in the Junior Science International Junior Science Olympiad. So there is this camp where they train you, they orient you, they kind of understand how you are. From there, they select a bunch of students who would be representing India, right? So there is a pre-departure training that happens after this, and then you go to the international Olympiads, right? So roughly speaking, okay, let's say that these are the things, these three are the things that are going to happen before you go and represent India in the Junior Science Olympiad. Obviously, this is a very prestigious thing, right? So imagine that you are in this. Forget this. This is also very nice. I mean, even if you manage to get qualified for NSEJS, right? If you manage to qualify for the Indian Junior Science Olympiad, right? Even then, you are in the top 300, 400 people in the country, right? Which means that as a junior science student, somebody who's in 10th, if you are in the top 300 in the country, right, you can understand the prestige that it brings to you, right? It automatically tells everybody that this guy is really good with science, understands things so really well, can like tackle problems, they can handle things that are not mundane, not day-to-day life, like the regular questions that you get in your exams, even at 10th level. You go and get a collection of past 10, 20 years questions. You can see that, okay, there are so many questions that are repeated. Almost everybody gets like really good marks in 10. It's very difficult to score below 80% anymore. This was not the case in, when I gave my exam or when my elder brother gave an exam. Anything above 80% was considered really nice way back till 2000, let's say. I gave my 10th in 2012, in 2002 and stuff. So yeah, of course, at that time scoring was really difficult, but these days everybody knows what are the general kind of expected questions in like 10th exams and all. So scoring well in a 10th level, in a boards level, is not really that big a deal. But you go and pick up all of these junior science Olympiads questions from past 20 years, and you go through all of these questions, you will see that, oh my God, all of these are different. All of these are so out of the box. There is no generalized way to deal with these questions. These are not very repetitive, just like how we say in JE preparation, that JE questions are not very repeated. They see to it that they bring up new questions, they force you to think. That is what junior science is also about. Junior science Olympiad is also about. They don't give you those, daily life kind of a question. I mean, of course, they are related to daily life and science and, things that you should really know if you are a scientist and if you are really interested in going into science as your domain. Of course, it's important. But what I mean is, it's not the regular run of the mill kind of a question. They are not like regular questions that you can expect in a 10 standard exam. These are questions that will force you to think. This will test your clarity on the topic. You can't just by heart some of the previous year's questions and go and expect that you will do really well in this exam. This is really nice an exam. This tests your ability to comprehend, read, and understand the question. And if you have a really good clarity about the topic, then you will do really well in this exam. That said, I'm not trying to demotivate you. The point is, you don't even know what is your potential at this point. As a student going through education in our country, it's not that easy for anybody to gauge a student's full potential. Honestly, trust me when I tell you this, even you don't know if you are a scientist quality student. Even the best students in the country, they don't really trust themselves or know for sure that they are scientist material or somebody who actually needs to work in the field of science so that humanity can progress, right? So that's something that you will realize once you go into the camp, right? So you give this exam, you are in like the top 300, 400 students, you give the next part, you get selected, you go to camp, you're like going to be with the best minds in the country, right? For through the duration of the camp, you are with like 30 students or so who are so brilliant, whose thought process is not like regular, day to day kind of an affair. They have like a thought process which is at a plane much higher than the normal students. They think different, right? So when you are in that company, like I remember my brother, giving the NTSC exam and going for the camp, and he was like, all the best students that I know of. I mean, eventually, these are the people who got really good ranks in JE, who got into ISC or IITs, and who did really well in life and went ahead with research and did brilliant things in life. These are all people he met at the camp. He was like, okay, I didn't give NTSC very seriously. I didn't know how to give exams. That's partly why I got into becoming a teacher. I wanted to help students to prepare who has a potential. I want them to do well in exams and do well in life in general. So yeah, when you're somebody who reaches that camp, those 30 other students who are there with you, plus the scientists who are training you, orienting you, you will see a sea change, a magnificently huge change in what you are, the way you think, the way you think about science, the way you become a brand ambassador for science, the way you propagate science as a, you have that fervor. It's almost like you're religious. You are like, oh my god, I'm going to die for this thing. That level of excitement that you end up having once you go through the camp, that's the thing that you fight really hard for. You get that chance to represent the country. If you get selected and you go into that team representing India, that's next level prestige. I mean, imagine how like people who go into Olympics win medals or not, get a big tally, and like India is in top Olympics and all. Not really, but still you represent the country. That's a matter of pride. You have that thing that you have the flag with you. You have the country's aspirations riding with you. You have like so billions of people who are cheering for you from outside. And we have done traditionally really well. I think, I mean, like it's almost 25, 30 years that our Olympiads have been going on. And India has done really well in all of these exams. Partly because, yeah, of course, the examination and the competition in this country sees to it that at least some of these students are very, very brilliant. And statistically also, I think, I mean, if you have such a huge population, there has to be a small set who are like extraordinarily brilliant and extraordinarily intelligent and motivated and driven and who understand the nitty-gritties of science and who are really enthusiastic about pursuing a career in science, right? So yeah, these are the people you get to meet there. If for nothing else, forget the certification, forget the award you get, forget the gold medal you get, forget the fact that you can put this on your CV and every company will take you seriously, every college will take you seriously if they say, oh, okay, Junior Science Olympiad qualified. This guy was in top 50 in his year across the country when it comes to science and love for science. That carries such a huge weight. But forget all of these perks and advantages of getting through it. If nothing, to meet those other people who are like you, who are so smart, who you will be like, cherishing all through your life as like brilliant friends that you have. Right. So wherever you are born, wherever you are in life, whatever economic, social strata you are in, it doesn't matter. It's all a statistical distribution. People around you, some might be brilliant, some might not be, some might be rich, some might not be, some might be of a high social class, some might not be. None of these matters to science. Science is a place where you're all equal. It's a unifier, it's a grand unifier where anybody who does well for science is respected in science, irrespective of others, right? And this is not going to be statistical. It's not like your neighbors or your school students or somebody. These are handpicked, like, a two, 3 dozen students who are so brilliant that they had to be searched for in the whole country to gather them together. So this is a once in a lifetime experience. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. That's why people prepare really well for this exam. But yes, even though this is 10 standard, as I told you. Okay, now let me speak a little bit about the exam, right? So, specifically in the CJS, I'm not going to go into the Junior Science Olympiad, although, yeah, it's more or less the same. Of course, it gets more complicated, it gets more, testing, let's put that word, right? So, as far as the exam is concerned, it has two parts. Part one has 48 questions, and divided by 3 is how much? 16, है ना? So 16 questions from each subject, right? Physics, chemistry, bio, science, है ना? Not maths. Maths नहीं है ना? So 48 questions, and these are single correct. So objective questions, single correct answers, right? So single correct questions. Then the next part you will have 12 questions, right? This has 12 questions, again divided by 3, 4 questions from each subject, physics, chem, bio. And these have multiple correct answers. Multiple correct answers. This first part, each question is plus 3 minus 1. If you get it right, you get plus 3. If you get it wrong, it's a minus 1. So there is negative marking in these 16 questions for each subject. In the next 4 questions, because it's a multiple choice thing, it's entirely possible that you have a kind of clear idea about the topic. You're, almost there with 2, 3 correct answers. But yeah, maybe there is one more option that you were not very sure of. You left it. But yeah, the others were at least right and all right. So there is like this possibility that you could go wrong, and they don't want to penalize you for that. So there is a plus 6-0 situation here. So if you get all the answers right, you get plus 6. If you don't, there is no negative marking. Right? So of course, it's very testing. You have to be very good with English to understand all of these options and to, okay, this is what they mean. So at times it's very difficult to even understand the question. Again, not trying to demotivate you, but I'm telling you, this is not your regular fair exam. It's a exam meant to really test and only qualify the really good, strong kids, right? So it was expected to be like that, right? So this is about the exam. And if you ask me about the syllabus, right, I'm not going to obviously tell you everything about the physics and bio syllabus and all. Although, yeah, the general idea is that as far as the syllabus is concerned, it is 10th level. Right? So somebody who's in ninth who has to give this exam, obviously it's a bit difficult because you have not studied some of the things from 10th. But yeah, I mean, if you honestly ask me in 11th, 12th, and JE also, this is more or less the same syllabus, right? Whatever you learn till 10th, you learn that a bit more in depth when you go into 11th and 12th. And of course, there's a lot more things involved in 11th and 12th. And then you give the exam. So more or less, it's the same syllabus, if you ask me honestly. But yeah, 10th level is what they prescribe as the syllabus, right? So 10th level science is what you need to know. So, if you ask me what exactly is there in chemistry, because I deal with chemistry, so I can tell you that as far as chemistry is concerned, it starts with what is matter, solid, liquid, gas, the states of matter, different states. Of course, solid, liquid, gas is what we primarily deal with. But yeah, of course, beyond that, like about atoms, molecules, elements, compounds, mixtures, the differences, colloids, suspensions, and all of these, details about matter. Still, we are talking about matter there, right? And all kind of processes, right? Phase change and like condensation, precipitation. Um, let's say, I mean, all states, all transitions, all phase transitions, and all of these are important for you to understand. Beyond that, the idea of mole concept, right? So where you have that numbers thing, okay, it's called quantitative chemistry, right? So you're counting, right? Qualitative is when you're speaking about nature and you're like, this is acidic, this is basic, this solution is acidic. That's qualitative. Quality described. But quantitative would be when you are saying, oh, this is acidic and has a pH of 2. When you're speaking about something like that, there is a quantity that you're associating it with. So that is quantitative analysis, right? So as far as the chemistry is concerned, mole concept is there. So I'm not going to write everything in detail here. I'm just putting it as a big umbrella that science 10th level is there. can listen to me and you can even like go through the website or any publication and you will get the exact syllabus. But yeah, I'm just mentioning what all are there in this, right? So atoms and molecules. Beyond that, yeah, I mean, you go into like what you call as metals, non-metals, their reactivities, their preparation properties, some of them, right? Acids, bases, and salts. What can you expect? I mean, the idea of donation of H plus or OH minus in excess, all of these. I mean, we are going to even make a small video about pH. I'm going to make one right now, right? So you can look it up if you want to. It will give you a little bit about ideas about what is acidic, what do you mean by basic, what is the idea of pH scale. Some of these basic things I'll be covering up in that topic, which is going to be recorded in a while. So that will also be uploaded more or less together along with this video. You can check that out as well, right? So yeah, acids, bases, and salts. Then if you think about, let's say, reactions, like all kind of reactions that you deal with, redox reactions, balancing of redox reactions, also about all the different types and classes of reactions, right? You speak of combination, you speak of decomposition reactions, displacement reactions, double displacement reactions, precipitation. Of course, some of these are like common. Precipitation reactions are generally double displacement reactions. Displacement reactions, that again deals with like metals displacing other metals or the metals displacing hydrogen, which is related to what you call as your metal reactivity series, all of that. Right? And then like carbon compounds, of course, what we deal with in JEE or like I mean, post 10th as what you call as your carbon and compounds. That is a whole class. Naming of some of these compounds and different functional groups that are there in carbon and compounds, the versatility of carbon, how it does catenation and how it can produce like a vast, literally, it can't be count. I mean, there is a count for how many molecules are all are there overall. We say it's in millions and whatever. But yeah, what is that special property about carbon, which we call as catenation, where it can form more and more molecules, giant molecules, keep on forming more chains, longer, 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 spread out, branch out. So the properties of carbon and compounds, right? All these different derivatives that are made out of carbon, alcohols, aldehydes, ketones, carboxylic acids, amino acids, all of these. Of course, not at a JE level, but yeah, at least basic idea about all of these, their reactivities, different types of reactions they participate in, addition reaction, nucleophilic reactions, substitution reactions, electrophilic kind of reagents, all of these, electron shifting effects, a lot of these properties of all of these are all part as well. Then I think kind of sums it up in chemistry, I'm guessing, right? So yeah, so as far as chemistry is concerned, this is what is there. To sum it all up, you can say the 10th level chemistry is what you need to have. Again, it's the same for physics and bio as well. But if you go through all of these questions, you will feel that, okay, this is something which probably a student in 11th and 12th will be able to better understand this question. Probably a student who is absolutely unaware, who has not done any preparation, and who is not like, unfortunately exposed to such depth of clarity about science, might not even be able to understand the question. But yeah, if you go through these questions, if you have an elder brother or somebody who's preparing for GE, if you put across these questions, even that person might not be able to solve these questions, but at least that person will be able to understand the question and tell you this is what they want to ask and this is what they mean, right? Obviously, somebody who's really well prepared in 11th, 12th should be able to solve all of these questions because at the end of the day, what is this? 10 standard level, apparently. 10, right? But yeah, these questions, if you ask me, even like 11, 12 standard students find it difficult to convincingly answer all of these, right? So yeah, point is, this is the syllabus, right? Now, as I was telling you, what is the what is the advantage of giving this exam? You eventually get that certificate. Even if you go through this, and if you're in top 1%, you get that. I think you get a certificate, merit certificate, or if you eventually reach here, you get like a gold medal nonetheless. I mean, you don't have to go to the international level and get an international level junior science Olympiad gold medal and all. Even in the country, when you manage to clear through this, you already are somebody who is really good in science, and that appreciation that you get and the chance to represent the country, that is what this is primarily good for, right? Now, obviously, if you are somebody who's serious about science and you go through your junior science Olympiad, you qualify, it's almost a given that you will be somebody who will do really well in your 12th standard, post 12th standard exams as well, right? So if you ask me, one of the things that I tell my students is if you're somebody who has done well in Junior Science Olympiad, educators across the country are literally going to hunt for you. They are going to run behind you to teach you so that they can get you to give the exam on behalf of them, right? So then, naam roshan karega aap hamara, sabko pata hai, theek hai? That is the, that is the value that is attached to giving this exam and qualifying this exam. You can understand top 300, right? So in top 4,000, 5,000 rank in JEE is super good, and you get a really good IIT, one of the old IITs, decent department and all. Obviously, if you are in top 300 when you are in 10th level, you can understand. You are definitely a top 500, top 100, rank. Definitely in JEE or NEET or whatever. So this is like a self-test that you can take, right? So yeah, forget JEE and all of these. That's something for later on. Primary thing is when you're doing really well in the Junior Science Olympiad, it's for sure that you are somebody who loves science, who has that aptitude for science, who has that, you know, analytical skills for science, and that ability to read and understand comprehension skills. That is what this certifies for you, right? So this is something you can carry very proudly. That's it. I'm ending the session for right now. I'm going to teach a topic next. All the best.